After my husband died, his best friend came to help. Then I found my own letters in his car. Hi, everyone. Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. The funeral was perfect. Too perfect. David would have hated it. He always said he wanted something small, intimate, maybe just a few people sharing stories over whiskey in our backyard. Instead, there were 200 people in black, a string quartet, white lilies everywhere. The kind of funeral that looks impressive in an obituary, but feels hollow when you're the one standing beside the casket. I remember standing there in my black dress, my hand on the polished mahogany, thinking how cold it felt. How wrong. David was warm. David was laughter at midnight and coffee in bed on Sunday mornings. David was the smell of his cologne lingering in the bathroom and his terrible singing in the shower. Now he was this silent, waxy thing in a box, and everyone kept telling me how peaceful he looked. He didn't look peaceful. He looked gone. Sarah, a hand on my shoulder, warm and steady. You need to sit down. Marcus, David's best friend since college, the man who had been David's best man at our wedding, who came over every Sunday to watch football, who knew David's coffee order and his favorite joke, and the scar on his knee from when they went hiking in Colorado. I'm fine, I said, but my voice sounded thin, like paper tearing. You're not fine? Nobody expects you to be fine. His voice was gentle, the kind of gentle that makes you want to collapse. Come on. Let me get you some water. I let him guide me to a chair. I let him bring me water. I let him stand beside me as person after person squeezed my hand and said meaningless things about time and healing and God's plan. Marcus absorbed it all, deflecting the worst of it, knowing somehow when I needed space and when I needed someone to speak for me. When it was over, when the last guest had left and the funeral home staff were quietly cleaning up, Marcus drove me home. Our home. My home now, I suppose, though the thought made my stomach turn. I'll stay for a bit, he said as we pulled into the driveway. Make sure you're settled. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Inside, the house was exactly as we'd left it that morning. David's coffee mug still in the sink from 3 days ago, before the heart attack that came out of nowhere. His reading glasses on the side table, his jacket on the hook by the door. I stood in the entryway and felt the weight of it all crash down. The silence, the emptiness, the knowing that he would never walk through that door again. Marcus caught me as my knees gave out. He didn't say anything, just held me while I sobbed into his shoulder, great heaving gasps that felt like they were tearing me apart from the inside. He smelled different from David, sandalwood instead of cedar. But his arms were strong and steady, and for a moment, just a moment, I let myself pretend that I wasn't completely alone. The days after the funeral blurred together. I couldn't sleep in our bed. I tried that first night, but I kept reaching for David in the dark and finding nothing but cold sheets. I ended up on the couch, wrapped in his old college sweatshirt, watching infomercials until dawn. Marcus came by the next morning with coffee and bagels. You need to eat, he said, setting them on the kitchen counter. I'm not hungry. Sarah, please. There was something in his voice that made me look at him. Really look at him. He looked tired. Grief hung on him, too. Of course it did. He'd lost his best friend. Okay, I said quietly. Okay. He stayed while I picked at a bagel. He washed David's coffee mug, finally, and the dishes that had been piling up. He took out the trash. He didn't ask permission, just did it, and I was too exhausted to protest. I'll come by tomorrow, he said when he left. We need to start thinking about the estate paperwork, bank accounts, insurance, all that. I nodded numbly. I couldn't think about any of that. I could barely think about breathing. But he came back the next day. And the next. And the next. He helped me navigate the labyrinth of death administration. He sat with me at the bank while I closed joint accounts and opened new ones. He made phone calls to insurance companies and lawyers. He scheduled appointments and reminded me to eat and made sure I showered and changed clothes. Everyone said I was lucky to have him. David's mother, my own mother, our neighbors. Such a good friend, they said. David would be so grateful. I was grateful. In those early weeks, when grief felt like drowning, Marcus was the only thing keeping my head above water. He knew what needed to be done. He knew how to do it. He never made me feel weak or incapable. He just quietly, efficiently, kept my life from falling apart. At night, alone in the house, I would look at David's photos on the walls and feel a confusing mix of grief and guilt. Grief for losing him, guilt for needing Marcus so much, for being glad, in some small secret part of myself, that I wasn't alone. 6 weeks after the funeral, Marcus offered to drive me to the attorney's office to finalize David's will. It was a 40-minute drive downtown, and I still wasn't comfortable driving. Everything felt surreal, like I was moving through water, my reflexes too slow, my attention too scattered. "Thank you for doing this," I said as we got into his car. A silver sedan, always immaculately clean. "You don't have to thank me every time," he said, pulling out of the driveway. "I want to help. David would have wanted me to take care of you." Something about the way he said it made me uncomfortable, but I couldn't pinpoint why. I pushed the feeling down. Marcus had done nothing but support me. I was just raw and paranoid and seeing shadows everywhere. We were halfway to the city when he pulled into a gas station. "I need to grab something. Be right back." I nodded, staring out the window at nothing. The world kept moving. People filled their gas tanks and bought lottery tickets and laughed on their phones. Life went on, indifferent to the fact that mine had ended. My purse slipped off my lap, contents spilling across the floor of the passenger side. Lipstick, keys, wallet, receipts. I sighed and bent to collect it all. That's when I saw it. The glove compartment was slightly open. Just a crack. And sticking out from that crack was the corner of an envelope. Old paper, yellowed at the edges, the kind that feels thick and expensive. I don't know why I pulled it out. Curiosity, maybe. Boredom. The strange instinct you get when something doesn't belong. The envelope wasn't sealed. Inside was a letter, handwritten on matching stationery. The ink was faded, but still legible. I recognized the handwriting immediately. It was mine. My heart stopped. "Marcus, I don't know if I'll ever send this." "Probably not, but I need to write it down. Need to get these feelings out of my head before they drive me crazy. I think I'm falling in love with you. I know that's terrifying to say. We're just friends. We've always been just friends. And you're leaving for Boston in 2 weeks, and I'm staying here for grad school, and this timing is terrible. But God, Marcus, when I'm with you, everything feels right. When you look at me, I feel seen in a way I've never felt before. David is great. He's funny and kind and stable. My parents love him. Everyone says we're perfect together. And maybe we are. Maybe I'm supposed to marry him and have kids and live the life everyone expects me to live. But I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop wondering what would happen if I were brave enough to tell you the truth. If you'd say you feel it too. If we'd take that risk together. But I won't send this. Because I'm not brave. And because losing you as a friend would hurt worse than never knowing what we could be. So I'll fold this up and put it in a drawer and try to forget I ever wrote it. But I wanted you to know, even if you never will, that you mattered. That you matter. Always, Sarah. The letter slipped from my hands. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I had written that letter 22 years ago, the summer after college, the summer when everything felt possible and terrifying, and I'd been caught between two futures. Marcus had left for Boston. I'd stayed. And 3 months later, I'd started dating David seriously. We'd gotten engaged a year after that, married 6 months later. I'd forgotten about the letter. Or thought I had. I'd assumed I'd thrown it away, or that it was lost in some box in my parents' attic. But it was here, in Marcus's glove compartment, which meant he'd had it all along, which meant I had sent it. Or he'd found it somehow. Or... The driver's door opened. Marcus slid back in, holding a bottle of water and a pack of gum. "Sorry, there was a line. You ready?" I stared at him. This man I'd known for over 2 decades. David's best friend. My helper, my support, my savior these past 6 weeks. "Sarah, you okay?" I realized I was clutching the letter in my fist. His eyes flicked down to it. For just a second, something crossed his face, something I couldn't read. Then it was gone, replaced by concern. "What's that?" "You tell me." My voice sounded strange, distant. "I found it in your glove compartment." He went very still. "Sarah, I wrote this 22 years ago. I never sent it, so how do you have it?" Silence filled the car, thick and suffocating. "I can explain," he said finally. "Then explain." He looked out the windshield, his jaw tight. "You did send it. You put it in my mailbox the night before I left for Boston. I found it the next morning." The world tilted. No, I didn't. I remembered deciding not to. "You were drunk." His voice was quiet. "You called me at 2 a.m. You said you needed to tell me something. I told you to sleep it off. We'd talk in the morning. But you came to my apartment. You gave me the letter. You said..." He stopped. "What? What did I say?" "You said you loved me. You said you didn't want me to leave. You asked me to stay." I felt like I was drowning. I had no memory of this. None. "I left anyway," he continued. "I thought it was the right thing to do. You were confused. You'd been dating David. I didn't want to be the reason you made a mistake you'd regret." He finally looked at me. "But I kept the letter. All these years I kept it." "Why?" "Because I loved you too." The words hung between us, devastating in their simplicity. "You loved me," I repeated slowly, past tense. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was rough. I never stopped. I couldn't process this. It was too much. David was dead. Marcus had loved me. I had loved Marcus. We'd had some drunken night I couldn't remember where I'd apparently poured out my heart, and he'd left anyway. "Take me home," I said. "Sarah, please, take me home, now." The drive back was silent. When we pulled up to my house, I got out without looking at him. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have told you. I should have..." I slammed the door and walked inside, the letter still clutched in my hand. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept reading the letter over and over, trying to remember writing it, trying to remember that night. But it was a blank space in my memory, smoothed over by time and alcohol and the life I'd built afterward. Had I loved Marcus? Yes. I remembered that, at least in abstract. He'd been my closest friend in college. We'd spent hours talking about books and music and philosophy. He'd made me laugh. He'd listened in a way that made me feel like I was the only person in the world. But David had been steady, reliable, easy. Loving David hadn't felt like standing on a cliff's edge. It had felt like coming home. So I'd chosen home, or thought I had. But if I'd sent that letter, if I'd asked Marcus to stay and he'd left anyway, I got up and went to David's study. I hadn't been in there since he died. It still smelled like him. Leather and paper and that cedar cologne. His desk was organized, just like everything David did. Files labeled and sorted. A calendar with appointments he'd never make. A framed photo of us on our wedding day, young and stupid and happy. I started going through drawers. I don't know what I was looking for. Evidence, maybe. Of what, I couldn't say. In the bottom drawer, under some old tax returns, I found a box. Small, wooden, with a brass latch. Inside were letters. My letters. Not just the one from Marcus's car. There were dozens, all in my handwriting, all addressed to Marcus. All from that same summer, that same confused, terrifying time when I'd been standing between two futures. Some I remembered writing, some I didn't. They charted a whole relationship I'd forgotten or repressed. Late-night phone calls, coffee dates that felt like more than friendship. The growing, terrifying realization that I was in love with him and didn't know what to do about it. The last letter was dated the day before Marcus left for Boston. It was longer than the others, more desperate. I don't know who I am without you. I don't know how to do this. David is asking me to move in with him. Everyone says it's the next step. But Marcus, I'm scared. What if I'm making a mistake? What if the right choice is the one that terrifies me? Please don't go. Or if you have to go, please ask me to come with you. Give me a reason to be brave. At the bottom of the box was one more letter. This one wasn't from me. It was from Marcus to David. Dated 3 months after Marcus left. David, I need to tell you something. Sarah and I, there was something between us. Before you got serious. Maybe even while you were dating. She wrote me letters. She told me she loved me, and I loved her too. I left because I thought it was the right thing to do. She was confused. You made her happy in a way I wasn't sure I could. You were my best friend. I didn't want to destroy that. But I need you to know the truth. If you're going to propose to her, if you're going to build a life with her, you deserve to know that part of her heart might always belong to someone else. I'm not asking you to end things with her. I'm not asking for anything. I just need to be honest. Brother to brother. Take care of her. She deserves the world. Marcus. And underneath, in David's handwriting, Marcus. I know. She told me everything one night when she'd had too much wine. About the letters, the feelings, all of it. She was crying, saying she was a terrible person. I told her the same thing I'm telling you now. Love isn't a betrayal. She loved you. She loves me. Both things can be true. I'm going to marry her anyway. Not in spite of this, but knowing it. Because I love her enough to make room for the complicated parts. You're my brother. Always will be. If you need to stay away for a while, I understand. But don't stay away forever. Come to the wedding. Be my best man. Because I need my best friend, and Sarah needs her friend. And we're all adults who can handle complicated feelings. Life's too short for anything else. David, I sat on the floor of David's study and sobbed. For David, who'd known everything and married me anyway. For Marcus, who'd loved me and left. For myself, for all the choices I'd made and forgotten and buried under 20 years of marriage. David had kept these letters. He'd kept the truth locked in a box at the bottom of a drawer. Not to torture me with it, I don't think. But to remember. To hold space for the messy, complicated reality of love. And Marcus had kept one letter in his glove compartment for 22 years. What did that mean? I didn't call Marcus for 3 days. I needed time to think, to process, to figure out what I was feeling underneath the grief and confusion. On the 4th day, he showed up at my door. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I shouldn't have kept that from you. I should have told you years ago, or never kept the letter at all, or... Come in, I said quietly. We sat in the living room, the same room where he'd held me while I cried the day of the funeral. It felt like a lifetime ago. Did you come back? I asked. After David wrote you that letter? He looked surprised. How did you? I found them, all of them, in David's desk. Of course he kept them. Marcus smiled sadly. He kept everything that mattered. You didn't answer my question. I came to the wedding. I was his best man. You remember that. And after? After, I stayed away for a few years. It hurt too much, but David kept calling, kept inviting me to things. He wouldn't let me disappear. Marcus looked down at his hands. Eventually, it got easier. I built my own life, dated other people, convinced myself I'd moved on, and your marriage looked happy. David clearly loved you. You seemed content. I thought maybe I'd made the right choice after all. Did you? The question came out harsher than I intended. Make the right choice? I don't know. How can anyone know? We live the life we live. We don't get to see the other versions. But you kept the letter. I kept the letter, he admitted. And sometimes, late at night, I'd take it out and read it and wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed. If I'd been brave enough to choose love over logic. The air between us felt charged, dangerous. Why are you here, Marcus? Really? These past 6 weeks, is this about helping David's widow? Or is this about something else? He met my eyes. Both. I loved David like a brother. Losing him destroyed me. And yes, I wanted to help you because he would have wanted that, because it was the right thing to do. He paused. But I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a part of me that thought, maybe now, maybe after all these years, we could... Could what? Pick up where we left off? I laughed bitterly. Marcus, I buried my husband 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks. And you think this is the time to tell me you've been in love with me for 22 years? No. God, no. That's not what I... He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. I'm not trying to replace him. I'm not asking you for anything. I just wanted to be honest, finally, after all these years of pretending. Pretending what? That it was enough. Being your friend, being in your life, but not the way I wanted. Watching you be happy with someone else, and telling myself that was enough because at least you were happy. Did you, I had to ask, had to know. Did you have anything to do with David's death? The shock on his face was genuine, absolute. What? Sarah, no. My God, how could you even think? Because this is insane, I was shouting now, couldn't help it. You show up every day, you take over my life. You just happen to have a letter I wrote 22 years ago in your car. David dies suddenly at 45 from a heart attack with no warning, and then you tell me you've loved me all along. What am I supposed to think? David had a heart condition. Marcus's voice was shaking. He told me about it 3 years ago. He was on medication. He wasn't supposed to stress, wasn't supposed to drink, wasn't supposed to do half the things he did. I begged him to take it seriously. He laughed it off, said he wasn't going to live in fear. What? He didn't tell you. He made me promise not to. He said he didn't want you to worry, didn't want to be treated like he was fragile. Marcus's eyes were wet. I'm not glad he's dead, Sarah. I'm destroyed. My best friend died because he was too stubborn to take care of himself, and I couldn't stop it. And now he's gone, and I don't know how to live in a world without him. I felt something crack open inside me. Of course David hadn't told me. He'd always been like that, invincible in his own mind, refusing to slow down, to admit vulnerability. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have accused you. You're grieving. You're looking for someone to blame. I understand. We sat in silence for a long moment. I can't do this, I said finally. Whatever this is, whatever you're hoping for, I can't. It's too much. Too soon. Maybe too late. I don't know. He nodded slowly. I understand. I need you to stop coming by every day. I need space. I need to figure out who I am without David, and I can't do that with you here, with all this history between us. Okay. He stood up. But Sarah, if you need anything at all, I'm still here. Still your friend, if you'll let me be. I know, I said. Thank you. For everything. For being here when I needed you. But I need to do this part alone. He left without looking back. The months after that were the hardest of my life. I had to learn to be alone. Really alone. No David, no Marcus. Just me and the echo of my own thoughts in an empty house. I went to therapy. I joined a grief support group. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since college. I cleaned out David's closet, donating his clothes, but keeping his favorite jacket, the one that still smelled like him. I read through all the letters again and again, trying to understand the girl who'd written them, trying to understand the man who'd kept them, trying to understand the husband who'd known everything and loved me anyway. 6 months after David's death, I found something else. A letter tucked inside his favorite book, the one on his nightstand that he'd been reading the week he died. Sarah, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Heart finally gave out, probably. Or a car accident. Or who knows. Death comes when it comes. I'm not good at talking about feelings, never was. But I need you to know some things. First, I loved you. Completely. Messily. with everything I had. You were the best part of my life. Every single day with you was a gift. Second, I knew about Marcus. I always knew. About the letters, the feelings, all of it. You told me, remember? That night you got drunk and cried and said you were a terrible person. You weren't. You aren't. Love is complicated. Hearts don't follow rules. Third, I hope you let yourself love again. Not immediately. Grieve me. Miss me. Take all the time you need. But don't close yourself off forever. You have too much love in you to spend it all on a ghost. Fourth, Marcus is a good man. Maybe the timing was never right for you two. Maybe it still isn't. But don't let ancient history keep you from happiness. I'm not threatened by him. I never was. I was secure in what we had. If he makes you happy, if he's there for you, if you find something worth holding on to, I want you to take it. Life's too short for anything else. Fifth, don't let anyone tell you how to grieve or how long to take. This is your journey. Walk it at your own pace. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the heart condition. I should have. I just didn't want to be fragile in your eyes. I wanted to be the man you married, strong, capable, invincible. Stupid pride. Typical guy stuff. Forgive me. Live, Sarah. Live big and messy and fully. Love someone. Paint something. Travel somewhere. Do all the things we said we'd do someday. Don't wait for someday. It doesn't come. I'm not gone, not really. I'm in every sunrise you watch from our bedroom window. Every terrible joke that makes you laugh. Every moment of beauty that stops you in your tracks. I'm there. Always. With all my love, David. I sat on the floor beside his nightstand and cried. Not the desperate, drowning sobs of early grief. Something gentler. Sadness mixed with gratitude. Loss mixed with love. David had known. About Marcus, about my complicated heart, about everything, and he'd loved me anyway. Not in spite of it, but with it. Making room for the messy truth of who I was. I called Marcus 2 weeks later. Hello! He sounded surprised. We hadn't spoken since that day I'd asked him to leave. Hi, I said. Can we talk? We met at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory. He looked older, tired. I wondered if I looked the same to him. I found another letter, I said after we'd ordered. From David. He left it in his nightstand. What did it say? I pulled it out, handed it to him. Watched his face as he read. Watched his eyes fill with tears. He was a better man than me, Marcus said finally. He always was. He was a good man. So are you. You're just different people. Sarah, I need to tell you something. He handed the letter back. I'm moving to Seattle. There's a job opportunity, and I think it's time for a fresh start. Something in my chest tightened. When? 3 weeks. Oh. I'm not running away, he said quickly. I'm not leaving because of you. I need something different. This city has too many ghosts. I understand. We drank our coffee in silence. Do you ever wonder, I asked finally, what would have happened if you'd stayed that summer? Every day for the first 5 years, less often after that. But yeah, I wonder. Me too. Do you think we would have made it if we'd tried? I considered the question, turned it over in my mind like a stone. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. We were so young, so stupid and dramatic, and sure that everything mattered forever. And now? Now I think there are lots of ways to love someone. Lots of choices that could have led to happiness. Or heartbreak. We got the life we got. David and I had 20 good years. That's more than a lot of people ever get. Do you regret it? Marrying David? I shook my head. No. Never. He was my home. He was solid and real and there. He loved me in a way that made me feel safe. And I didn't? You made me feel alive, terrified, like standing at the edge of something enormous. That's not better or worse than safe. It's just different. Marcus smiled sadly. We really screwed this up, didn't we? Or we got it exactly right, just not in the way we expected. He reached across the table, took my hand. I'm sorry, for everything, for leaving, for staying away, for coming back and making things complicated, for loving you when I shouldn't. Don't apologize for loving me. David didn't think you should. I don't either. What do we do now? I squeezed his hand, then let go. We say goodbye. We wish each other well. We let this be what it was, something beautiful and painful and incomplete, and we move forward. Just like that? Just like that. He nodded, eyes bright with unshed tears. I loved you, just so you know. It wasn't just some college crush. It was real. I know. I loved you too. Past tense? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know. Maybe some loves don't have a tense. Maybe they just exist, outside of time. Forever in that moment, when everything felt possible. I like that, he said. I can live with that. We finished our coffee. We hugged goodbye in the parking lot. It felt like an ending and a beginning all at once. Be happy, I said. Find someone. Fall in love. Build something real. You too. Maybe I will. I watched him drive away. Felt something shift inside me. Not closure exactly, but acceptance. The understanding that life is full of roads not taken, loves not pursued, futures that exist only in imagination. I went home to my empty house, to David's photos on the wall and his jacket in the closet and his ghost in every room. But it didn't feel haunting anymore. It felt like peace. 2 years later, I was painting in my studio when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Sarah? It's Marcus. My heart did a strange little flip. I hadn't heard his voice since that day at the coffee shop. Marcus, hi, how are you? Good, really good. This is going to sound crazy, but I'm getting married. That's wonderful. And I meant it, really meant it. Tell me about her. He did. Her name was Elena. She was a marine biologist. They'd met at a conference in Vancouver. She was brilliant and funny and challenged him in all the right ways. She knows about you, he said. I told her everything. The letters, the history, all of it. And she's okay with it? She said everyone has a past. What matters is who we choose to build a future with. He paused. She's right. She sounds smart. The smartest. Sarah, I wanted to invite you to the wedding, if that's not weird, if you're comfortable with it. I thought about it, about ghosts and old loves, and the ways we carry our histories forward. I'd love to come. Yeah? Yeah. I'm happy for you, Marcus. Really. How about you? Is there anyone? I'm dating someone. It's early, but it's good. He's kind, patient. He makes me laugh. David would approve. I think he would. After we hung up, I went back to my painting. It was a portrait of David, from a photo taken on our 10th anniversary. He was laughing at something I'd said, eyes crinkled, completely present in that moment. I'd finally been able to paint him, finally been able to look at his face and see the love without drowning in the loss. Beside the painting was another one, barely started. A landscape, abstract and dreamlike. It was the view from Marcus's apartment that summer so long ago. The view I'd stared at while writing those letters, trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted. I picked up my brush and added a stroke of blue. Then another, building something new from the fragments of memory. Outside, the sun was setting. The house was quiet but not lonely. I was alone but not empty. I thought about David's letter, live big and messy and fully. I thought about Marcus finding happiness on the other side of the country. I thought about myself, standing in this moment, alive despite everything, painting beauty from grief. Maybe that's what love is. Not choosing between futures, but learning to carry all our loves with us. Past, present, possible. Each one shaping us, teaching us, making us who we are. I painted until the light faded. Then I cleaned my brushes, made dinner, called my boyfriend, and told him about Marcus's wedding. Will it be hard? He asked. Seeing him? Maybe. But I think it'll also be good. Proof that we both got to the other side. I'd like to meet him someday. I'd like that too. That night, I slept in my bed. David's side was still empty, but I'd stopped expecting to find him there. His ghost had gentled into memory. His love had settled into something I could carry without being crushed by it. And in the morning, I woke up and the sun was shining, and I had coffee on the porch and thought about all the lives we live. The ones we choose, and the ones we imagine, and the ones that slip through our fingers like water. I thought about Marcus's question, do you ever wonder what would have happened? The answer, I realized, was yes and no. Yes, I wondered. But no, I didn't need to know. Because this was the life I'd lived. This was the love I'd found and lost and survived. These were the scars I carried, and the joys I'd known, and the person I'd become through all of it. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.